I think the strength, the power in the whole story is something very simple. It's the simplicity itself. It's a couple which is very, very close, but is challenged in their love by a huge, huge pressure. And I always thought, also during the movie and also now when I'm seeing it, that the silent resistance, somebody who's saying no, also the silence itself, like, because we live in a world which is getting louder and louder, and we're getting more and more similar with each other, and we're looking even more and more similar. We have all the same way to communicate. The planet gets smaller, I have this feeling nowadays. And somebody who says no to something that he feels is wrong is something that is lacking a little bit. And I have a huge desire that this comes back one day, or in us, and that we don't lose the child in us who knows what is right and what is wrong. That's the strong thing in this story. And it all comes back. Whole Europe is overswammed with right parties, and it's like we didn't learn anything about history. And I think maybe the only resistance can be born out of a silence, out of a... Maybe also it's an advantage to live in the nature or in a silent place where you can feel much more which is right and what is wrong, because in a city sometimes you lose this when there are too many people around you. It was funny because Valerie, she grew up in Austria, and I was also living a huge part of my life close to the Alps. And it was for both of us a little bit like a comeback also to something that we knew from our childhood. So we also became children again. So but it was especially also the altitude, the lack of oxygen. It makes something special with you. You're very awake, you're very tired in the evening, and we did a lot of labor the whole day. Actually, our whole shooting was more or less farm labor while Terrence was shooting. It's a unique experience. I had never something like this, and I probably will never have something like this again. He's a very humble and curious man who, although he knows exactly what he wants, is actually inviting you to explore this movie together with him. It was really like he would always say, we're a band. We're making this movie together, and there's so many things now also in the movie that's not from him, it's like from us, because he opened all doors and he said, you are completely free, and we were shooting many scenes many times. It was exhausting, but it was completely fulfilling too. This is the most exciting part, and I'm so curious, especially today, because being in Toronto, I was walking yesterday through the streets, and I can tell that this is such a cineastic town, and this whole festival is so accessible for everyone, for students, for young people, and I'm very curious how they're gonna receive our story.
It was a very challenging experience, but also a sort of like strengthening experience in the sense of, trying to get close to this feeling that a person must have to really feel what is right, although it means sacrificing the biggest thing you could sacrifice. It was weird. Like during the shoot, I really realized like how it sort of, even just trying to get close to that idea. I mean, I'm not experienced it for real, but like trying to get close to that really brought me to I really sort of felt, wow, that made them such grand person. It sort of elevated them. And that was challenging, but also a huge gift to be able to experience that. I think the most important things were the letters that Terry sent to me already a year before we started shooting. And they were the most important. Like, I already had to cry when I just read the letters. And because they're so touching and simple, and you can see like their love, you feel the love that they shared, although they were farmers, but they were really in love. But then you also read like how they lived and what a simple life they lived, and how their decision didn't come like from an intellectual point, because they were farmers. So it really came from a very just grounded feeling, and that was super helpful to like get into this sort of sphere and their way of thinking. And then of course we also did a lot of farm work. Like I spent like 4 to 3 weeks on a farm before we started shooting. and I learned how to use a scythe and how to milk a cow and also started like cook more again because I haven't been cooking that much before. But like I felt like I already knew I will have to improvise a lot, so I felt like I should really like get into this and like really I wanted her to feel as grounded and natural as possible with whatever she's doing. So that was also quite important to get it like fit into the physics. Yeah. And then I still feel like I'm getting emotional when I just talk about it, but I do feel that for me it was such a great gift, and not only artistically but also personally. It's just sort of those like 8 weeks were really sort of mind-opening in a way of like, one, the story, but then also like Terry with his way of thinking but then like working itself was just fun. It was very fun and very liberating and he was very like sweet, and it felt, I never had like this feeling of like, oh my God, Terrence Malick, because he was really like, you felt like you're standing on the same ground and you can just have fun and we became friends, so yeah.
Really what was most important to me, I started working on this in 2007, and I met the family, and the idea that someone would do something simply because it's right, with no sense that anyone would ever know about it, and that still matters, and that we're called on to do the right thing regardless of power structures and how things may appear at any given time. I was very moved by meeting Franz Jägerstätter, the character portrayed by Valerie Pachner, and she really, I think the relationship in some ways changed my life, and that's all there in the film. Well, I think what Terry was able to achieve, and what's very important and unique for a World War II story, is the idea that it's not like we're ignorant. We know what happened. We know what's happening off screen. We know what's happening everywhere outside that farmhouse. So to come into the intimacy of the moment, it's not the war on the battlefield. It's the war that takes place in a person's heart that enables all of that. Every single person who fought in that war at some moment experienced that choice of how they would participate or decline to participate. And so that was really rewarding to see that on the screen. How did he guide the ship? Well, he's a unique captain. It's Terry Malick. So I had this project for a long time, and I had this, kind of fantasy, obviously unrealizable, that Andrei Tarkovsky would direct this film. He's passed away, of course, and I was approached. Terry got a hold of the story somehow, or the script that I had, and I thought, this is the hand of God. Terry is the person to realize this, and I think as we see here at Toronto, I think and hope many will agree when they experience this film.
Congratulations.